Hello everyone, I am here to talk to you about the presentation or project that I did over this past semester that focuses on the topic of juvenoia. Now, you probably don't know what juvenoia is, but you've probably experienced it. I will get into that in the meantime, I will get that in the future, but in the meantime, let's do some introductions. So, I am me, shockingly enough. My name is Sam Butler. There is a picture of me on the right. I am a sophomore. I am a kinesiology major, though I want to be a teacher. The reason I'm a kinesiology major is because the education college is confusing. But, fun fact about me, I'm ginger, if you couldn't tell. I know, truly shocking. I want to be a teacher. I want to help educate people, and because of that, I wanted to do a project that focuses on education in some way or another. The topic has nothing to do with kinesiology, but I still wanted to educate. The subject itself is not really important. Now, what exactly the project is an informal video essay on the topic of juvenoia. Juvenoia is the belief that any generation younger than you is incapable because they are younger. So basically, it is the belief that, to use a phrase that I've used quite often in my video, it is the belief that kids these days are stupid, that they're lazy, that they're incapable. In some way or another, it doesn't really matter what. It's just that they are incapable because they are younger. Not for any specific reason that has any scientific basis, just because they are younger. Now, something I must emphasize is the fact that this is an informal video essay. It is not using proper academic language. It does not contain flowery language that emphasizes my own intelligence. I am a teacher. I teach other people about a subject. And in order to do that, I typically have to put it in simple terms, because if you have to explain it with complex language, you clearly don't understand it well enough to be teaching it. Now, why did I choose to do an informal video project? Well, in large part it's because I noticed signs of juvenoia in both millennials and Gen Z, which annoys me. So, yes, as the saying goes, pettiness is the world's greatest motivator. But a bit more positively here, I wanted those generations to at least realize that juvenoia is a thing and that they have it, and to potentially decrease its prevalence later on in future generations. So I think the current one is Gen Alpha. Unfortunately, I didn't focus on them too much because they're kind of like 4 at the moment. Again, rather common phrase. If you see something, say something. I saw a problem, so I spoke up. You can hate me for it, but I'll take what I can get. As long as you know that it's a problem, that's a step forward in the right direction. Anyway, by making it a video instead of, say, a paper, I'm able to reach the correct age groups. I'm able to reach the correct audience, while still having the possibility of reaching other audiences. A video is much, much, much more likely to reach younger generations like millennials and Gen Z, though millennials aren't really that old at this point. Sorry, any millennials in the audience. But it is for the younger generations. I'm not aiming this towards Gen X. I'm not aiming this towards the silent generation or the baby boomers. That's not the point. They have their opinions. They're entitled to them. I don't really care. That's not the point of my message or my project. What I want to do with this is impress upon the current young adults, such as they are, that juvenoia is not something that is just in older generations. It is something that is in this generation, and it will probably be, if I may engage in a little bit of juvenoia myself, it will probably be in generations after us, because I sure as hell don't think that we're gonna fix it, unfortunately, but I'm being realistic here. Before I go too much further, I want to include a few clips from my video. It's always hard to envision, hey, what is this video that this person's talking about without actually having a reference for the video? So I've included a few in this presentation just to give you an idea of what exactly I was trying to do in this video and to give you a feel of the type of presentation I was doing in the video and how exactly my creative process was going. You kind of have an idea already since I've been using my avatar for this presentation because I wasn't able to get my video working. But I want to give you kind of an insight into my creative process, so here are a few clips from the video itself. Juvenoia was first used by David Finkelhor in his paper The Internet, Youth Safety, and the Problem of Juvenoia. And essentially what he said it was is, quote, an exaggerated fear about the influence of social change on children and youth. A bit more practically, what that means is that it is the belief that kids these days are incapable or lazy or just worse in general because of changes to society. However, the important thing to remember here is that this is not a new problem. So, in order to demonstrate this, I will be going over modern examples of juvenoia and refuting them, past examples of juvenoia and refuting them, the causes of juvenoia, why it matters specifically for the mental health of children, and what you, specifically speaking my generation, so millennials and Gen Z, should do about juvenoia. If you excel in some category and you compare to someone who is normal or average, that might be a better word, average, then of course that person will seem lacking. Like, look at that huge disparity between us. Clearly, they must be failing. Well, no, they're not failing. You're just exceptionally good at that. Props to you. Now shut the Now that you have an idea of what exactly the presentation is, or you don't and you just skipped and didn't actually watch the clips, either way, it doesn't really matter. What are the steps in my video making process? So obviously the first thing I had to start with, research. Do I know what the hell I'm talking about? Yes, I do. This is a subject that I've been studying for quite a while, even before actually doing the project. I got into this topic because of a video by Michael Stevens from the channel Vsauce. He is a graduate of the College of, I think, Washington. Maybe. He made a video on the subject of juvenoia, but he mainly focused on what the causes were. He focused on the fact that it's been around for a long time. And I focus on that too, but he doesn't really focus on it as a solution. He just kind of focuses on, hey, this exists. Cool. And it always has existed. What I wanted to research, I had to research similar things, like modern and past examples of juvenoia, the causes of juvenoia, the effects of it. But more importantly, I wanted to focus on what to do about it. What can millennials and Gen Z do to combat juvenoia, to stop it from increasing, well, not increasing, but to stop it from passing on, and to stop themselves from exhibiting juvenoia? Turns out, there is some stuff you can do. And again, I'm not going to talk about it here. That's not what this presentation is for. Go watch the video. After I did all this researching, which didn't take that long, thankfully, I got into scripting and recording. Now, I use the term scripting rather loosely here because it wasn't so much a write out the full script, memorize these lines, and then say it word for word. As you can probably tell from this presentation, that's not really my style. I'm not just reading off these slides, or I'm trying not to. But I say scripting because I was basically taking the information and going, okay, how exactly can I organize this in such a manner that it makes sense, that it's entertaining? Once again, I need to be entertaining. And it's logical. It's still an essay. It's a video essay, and it's an informal video essay, but it's still an essay. So I had to organize that, and that's why I'm calling it scripting. Now, the recording part, neither scripting nor recording took too much time. I want to be a teacher. This is my lesson. I have experience with this type of thing, not typically online, and I have a lot more respect for teachers trying to record things online because it's really, really, really awkward. But I have experience with these. I know what I'm doing, at least somewhat, so thankfully it didn't take very long. It was actually the easiest part of the entire process. But the one thing I had to keep in mind the entire time was that entertainment while educating. I'm here to be engaging, and I'm here to teach, but if my audience clicks off the video within 30 seconds of watch time, I'm clearly not doing my job right. I have to be entertaining, I have to catch their attention, in the same way that a teacher has to keep their students' attention in a classroom. It just, in that case, they have the advantage of literally having a captive audience. So I'm kind of at a disadvantage in that case. But I also have more creative freedom, so I'll take that. To make use of that creative freedom, I do use techniques that most teachers wouldn't use in their normal classrooms. So I do use jokes, I do use sarcasm, I do use profanity because it's an informal video essay. I am trying to engage someone on the internet in an educational topic. Profanity, when used right, gets someone's attention. It is kind of inherently attention-grabbing because you're like, oh wow, that's a word not typically used in everyday conversation, or at least in an educational environment. So it kind of grabs attention, and it just kind of draws attention to things that otherwise wouldn't be that attention-grabbing. So like, if I'm having a chart on screen, and I point out this one thing about the chart, and I say that it is... I would rather not use profanity in the actual presentation, but if I use an expletive to describe the chart, it kind of draws attention to the chart just because of the language I am using. But I'm still being educational. I'm still using credible sources. I'm still using data. I'm still using statistics. I'm still backing up my claims with accurate and verifiable sources, typically from either .gov or .edu sources or something of that nature. So, yes, I am trying to be educational while still being entertaining, which is a goal that pretty much all teachers should have, but especially because I'm putting this on YouTube, and I'm not doing this in person. I don't have that captive audience that most teachers have, so I have to make my audience interested, because if they're not interested, my entire lesson is lost. Now, after I did all the recording, after I did the scripting, I had to do the editing, and I had to make some of the visuals. It was by far the hardest part of the process. Well, not even that hard, scratch that. It wasn't really hard, it just was tedious. Oh my god. It took so much time to do. Like, it's about a 20-minute video. When it's fully done, maybe about 18, 19, 20 minutes around there. It took me like several dozen hours to edit a 20-minute video, and I have so much respect for people who edit for a living now. Oh my goodness. Part of my problem was that I don't have a lot of experience with anything of this process, which is where my mentors came in. I asked one of my friends, who is a digital artist, my brother, who is an artist, and I kind of studied the videos of a man named CGP Grey, or username CGP Grey. He does a very similar style of video. He has the same cartoony avatar like I do and that I'm currently using, and all around, CGP Grey is really one of the biggest inspirations for this video, so huge thanks to him and Michael and Alex for, kind of mentoring me in this. So, yeah, editing by far was the hardest part. It was still fun, but it was tedious. Like, I loved making the jokes, and I loved making the various, references, and, hey, how can I make this topic entertaining? And I loved all that. But doing the actual editing was painful. And then the fourth step, he's alive! Yeah, that was me just uploading the video to YouTube. Not really that hard. YouTube's fairly effective at what it does. Some of my personal highlights, starting with the good. And just more the most surprising rather than the good. So not really the easiest, not really the most fun parts. Really, the most surprising of it was I didn't realize just how bad I am at art, but how much fun I have doing it. Oh my goodness. I'm not a digital artist, but damn, I had a lot of fun creating and laughing at my own jokes. Like, me making the avatars, oh my goodness. The various avatars and the visual jokes that I could come up with, either just in editing, like putting in text of, hey, joke, or editing a picture. I'm surprised at how much fun I had doing that. Like, I'm not an artistic person. I'll be the first to say this. I suck at art. I'm not an artist. There's a reason that I spend all of my time reading. I'm not an artist, but it's so much fun to just do it and not have to worry about people judging you And I think the artists in the audience are probably either shaking their fists at me in anger or nodding along in agreement. I really don't know which. Now, moving on to the bad. As I said before, this is more the most difficult, and editing. Just editing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it took the longest time by far, and I didn't even really edit the audio. This was me just putting in visuals and putting in, just editing stuff together. I had no experience with it, so I had to learn completely from scratch. And again, thank goodness for CGP Grey. I wasn't able to get into direct conversation with the guy, but he was a huge inspiration. Thank goodness for him and his videos. And again, newfound respect for lifetime editors because their patience is insane. Finishing off this little joke, the ugly. What have I failed to explain? I'm not entirely sure how this works, but you can, I guess, put in comments or put in feedback or replies depending on how exactly this gets published. Just, you have any questions for me? So, I'll try my best to explain it. Again, informal video essay, so keep the flowery language to a minimum if you would. But any questions about Juvenoia itself or, my process? It really depends on how exactly you want to talk about it.